Ain al-Assad is one of the largest military bases in Iraq. This vast 60-square-kilometer Air Force complex has 2 runways and a network of underground bunkers where Saddam Hussein used to hide his fighter planes. At the height of the conflict, more than 16,000 American soldiers were stationed here. It was the entry point for the coalition in Iraq. All GIs who served in the country passed through here. Today, the Americans are leaving.
Now the US military representative hands al-Assad base to the Iraqi army.
The ceremony lasts only a few minutes. Papers are signed, pictures taken, and colors hoisted. Quickly, everyone gets back to more practical aspects of the transfer, such as inventory. The Americans take all the military equipment and leave the barracks and offices in working order.
This is the Air Force.
The Iraqi army is taking back an operational airbase with no planes.
Currently, we lack a lot of fighter jets and reconnaissance aircraft.
Saddam Hussein's air force was destroyed during the US invasion. The wrecks of fighter jets are still visible around the base, an arsenal that must be rebuilt. On the American side, soldiers can only display satisfaction that the mission is accomplished. All of them declare that Iraq is ready to take its destiny into its own hands.
They strong democratic background here for the last several years, and the challenge before them is to maintain that course and to come together as a nation, accepting of all their cultures and embracing their diversity as one Iraqi nation.
After 9 years of war and occupation, the Americans are withdrawing under heavy protection. The highways are blocked for convoys to pass under helicopter protection. Their departure leaves a void, both politically and in terms of security. While the majority of people welcome their retreat, the return to normality on the streets of Baghdad hides deep divisions between Shiites and Sunnis. Even the security forces display their religious and therefore political beliefs. Most checkpoints sport portraits of Imam Hussein and Shiite flags. We head to Sadr city to see what remains of the Mahdi army, the Shiite militia controlled by Muqtada al-Sadr. We're escorted by a member of the organization. This is Ashura, the Shiite pilgrimage that was prohibited under Saddam's rule. It commemorates the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, in Karbala. Thousands of young men march past the headquarters of the Sadrist party, flagellating themselves with chains. There are no weapons in sight, yet this is very much a power display.
The Mahdi army, it's not an organization with membership cards or a militia, as some people claim. The Mahdi army is made up of those who defend the truth, who fight for the truth, and who fight the Americans. That's what the Mahdi army is. That's who you have here today.
To the sound of Latmiya, traditional flagellation music, tempers flare. Some even cut their scalp with swords to show their devotion to Shiaism and the cause of Muqtada al-Sadr.
We love you, Imam Hussein, for life and beyond. The United States and Israel, we will cut them up into pieces with the help of God Almighty.
The Sadrist party has 41 seats in the Iraqi parliament. Its military wing, the Mahdi army, was officially disbanded. Yet, Ibrahim al-Jabiri, the representative of Muqtada al-Sadr in Baghdad, speaks openly of armed struggle.
We say to those responsible for the security of this country, we're with you if you want to counter any attack by Al-Qaeda, the scourge that came along with the American tanks and planes. God willing, with the strength of the resistance led by Muqtada al-Sadr, they will disappear.
The reason the Shiites are so determined to defend themselves is that they were persecuted under Saddam Hussein's rule. After the fall of the dictator, Shiites and Sunnis faced off in a bloody sectarian war. Members of both faiths had to flee their homes. This Shiite taxi driver was one of them. He wishes to remain anonymous to avoid retaliation. We will call him Ali. He fled the town of Abu Ghraib 4 years ago with his family. In this Sunni-majority province, the situation became too dangerous.
The American occupation has encouraged sectarianism in the country, and we had to flee our regions. There were people, militia, we didn't know them. I can't say who it was. There was no security. When we left in the morning, we didn't know if we would return alive.
Ali assures us that he has a large poultry farm in Abu Ghraib. Now, he lives here in Mashtal, a poor neighborhood on the outskirts of Baghdad, a former military base where the Shiites who fled the Sunni-majority provinces have built makeshift houses. For 4 years, Ali has lived in this slum with his wife and 8 children.
It's hard. There are 10 of us in the family. I work, I'm a taxi driver. Sometimes it pays, sometimes it doesn't. The 6 children who are here go to school, this one and this one. Life is hard. Look, soil falls on us through the holes in the roof.
Ali has never returned to Abu Ghraib. He says the city is too dangerous. It is located in the predominantly Sunni province of Al-Anbar, west of Baghdad. On our way there, we pick up an armed escort. During the war, the region was an Al-Qaeda stronghold. Traces of that bloody era are still visible. Today, the governor is inaugurating this bridge, rebuilt after it was blown up in October 2009. With roadblocks and checkpoints, security is tight.
Hello, I'm the Colonel. Behind me in the car is the communications advisor, then search everyone.
The police and army are present in large numbers. The governor of Al-Anbar, Mohammad Qassam, arrives surrounded by a massive escort. The highway is closed, and pickup trucks loaded with heavy machine guns guard the perimeter. The governor has already been targeted by 4 assassination attempts. He has lost a hand and uses a cane to walk. After the last attack in November 2011, he publicly denounced the involvement of the Mahdi army.
This bridge was destroyed by terrorists, not armed militia. There are patriotic armed militias, and there are terrorists. I do not accept the idea that a patriot can destroy the infrastructure of his own country.
Among the armed groups that the governor considers as patriots, there is Al-Sahwa, the Awakening. It's a militia formed by Sunni tribal leaders who fought Al-Qaeda alongside the US Army. These 3 sheikhs are part of Al-Sahwa's high command. Thanks to their knowledge of the terrain, these men were able to neutralize the terrorist threat, a victory that cost them dearly.
This is the result of terrorism. Look, they killed all my brothers, 4 of my brothers, and I'm not even talking about my cousins and my uncles. I died a little bit every time too.
Each of these sheikhs heads a tribe and is able to mobilize thousands of fighters in a few hours. With the departure of the Americans, they are worried.
The sectarian current, I'm sorry to say, is very strong. Our sons joined the army, but when you look at the percentage of Sunnis, it is very low compared to that of the other confession.
We rely on God to protect us and our weapons to defend ourselves, just like we did in the beginning. We've kept our guns, we're ready to mobilize forces and fight with the children we have left.
Like the Mahdi army, Al-Sahwa was officially disbanded. In fact, the men and their weapons were simply transferred to the province's police. Hundreds of veterans of the struggle against Al-Qaeda, equipped with pickup trucks, armored Hummers, heavy machine guns, and rocket launchers. This unit is known as the Abariche Brigade, named after its real leader, Sheikh Ahmed Abariche. He lives in this protected fortress. He's a prime target for terrorist organizations. Most of his brothers and his father were murdered. Today, the Sheikh feels marginalized by the government of Nouri al-Maliki.
If the central government continues on this path, we will have to become an autonomous province, and Iraq will become a federal state. It's the only way to avoid the marginalization exercised by the government. And if they don't respect the constitution, they'll lose their legitimacy, and what happened in Libya, Egypt and Tunisia will happen to them.
Salah al-Din and Diyala, the other two Sunni provinces of Iraq, have already declared their autonomy, despite opposition from the government of Nouri al-Maliki. In Salah ad-Din, when the local government voted in favor of autonomy, the Iraqi army withdrew. Here, in Tuzkormato, 400 police officers are left responsible for the safety of 120,000 people. An impossible task. Yet, the mayor believes the autonomy of the Sunni triangle is inevitable.
With regards to appointments, we are marginalized. And there's pressure on the provinces from Baghdad. They deliberately make decisions that disadvantage certain regions. The problems of Iraq will never end unless the provinces become autonomous.
His model is only a few miles away behind these mountains. Kurdistan is Iraq's first truly autonomous province, another country altogether. Erbil, the capital, is prosperous. It has its own government and its own army of 80,000 men, an autonomy guaranteed by the Iraqi constitution. Marginalized, some Sunni leaders would like to see their provinces follow the same path, despite the risk of reinforcing divisions that could plunge Iraq into a violent sectarian war.